Shabbat Shalom and welcome everybody. I just want to welcome, we have many visitors and guests tonight. So if you're near somebody you don't know and they look like they're lost, please slide over and give them a little hand. For our visitors and guests who have not used this prayer book before, if you open to page 120, 121, and the prayer book is called Mishkan Tefillah. There's another book, a bigger book called Torah, but that's not the same. So if you're open to that page, most of our pages work as two-page units. On the right-hand side, the right-hand page, is Hebrew, and for those of you who read Hebrew, you can read it. For those of you who don't read Hebrew, if you look at it, you know it's Hebrew. But, right? You can't read it. Next to the Hebrew is what we call transliteration. Transliteration is the Hebrew words in English languages. So if you want to try to follow along with what we're doing, you look at that. Below the Hebrew and transliteration generally is a translation, a fairly accurate translation of the prayer. And on the left-hand page, facing, are one or two readings that are of a creative nature of the theme that's found in the prayer. And so that's how the page works, the two pages together. We turn the pages when we don't announce page. When we finish a paragraph, we just turn and we look on the next page. If we move more than one page at a time, we announce the page. I want to thank Alex Reeder, who's here substituting. Our cantor was called away, and she had to go be with her sister. So Alex, thank you for being here. And he's going to start off with what we call a nigun, which is a tune without words, right? Lai, 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 la we end this month of January, we also have just started a new Jewish month called Shvat. And Shvat is very special because in the middle of Shvat, on the 15th day of Shvat, which is next week, we have Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat means the 15th of Shvat, and it is a time for the birthday of trees. And the custom is to go outside and plant trees. So any of you who are up to it next week can go outside and plant trees. But if not, our other custom, which is very nice, is to take a fruit or a nut that you have not eaten before or in a long time and eat it on that day. So next, I think it's Sunday or Monday next week, you eat a new fruit or a vegetable, not a vegetable, a fruit or a nut, and enjoy the festival. We begin our service tonight with the kindling of the Shabbat candles, which is found on pages 120, 121. I invite Denise up to kindle the candles.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We turn to 123 for the Kiddush, which is a sanctification prayer for the day that is holy, and we do that over a cup of wine. Please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei bari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava u'ratzon inchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh b'reishit, ki hu yom tehillah lemikra kodesh, zecher letziyat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, mi'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shavat koshecha, be'ahava u'ratzon, inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Amen. Chaim. You may be seated. We turn to page 124. In the middle of the page, we read responsively. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the doors of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
turn to page 128 and we continue with the song Hinei Ma Tov, which means how good it is to be together, brothers and sisters. Turn to page 138. This song, Lecha Dodi, was written by the mystics of Sfat in the 15th, 16th century, and it is to welcome the Sabbath. And the Sabbath was seen as a bride, so it's Welcome, O Bride. And we do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. When we get to verse 9, we rise, we face the rear, as if we're welcoming the bride as she enters. Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad, Yishmi'anu le'am yuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Adoni likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat le'u b'nelcha, ki mekor habracha, le'erosh mihem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela.
Verse 5.
Hitoreri, ki ba'orech u'mi'ori, ori shiraberi, ki v'Adonai al ha'ayef nikla. Adonis לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Adonis לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת קהלה, גם לשמחה ובשורה, אוהב אמוני הסגולה. Boi chala, face forward. Lechadoni likrat kahala, bnei Shabbat nikabela. Lechadoni likrat kahala, bnei Shabbat nikabela. Please be seated. We turn to page 144 for the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach chutei v'yamlich malchutei.
V'chayechonu yomechon Uchaye dechol beit Yisrael, Bagala, Uvizman Kariv, V'imeru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach, Le'olam lo le'om haya, Yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal, shemei dekudesha
Barechu.
Leila min kol birchata v'shirata,
Ushmechata v'nechemata, Damiran be'alma,
v'yimeru. Amen.
As we turn to 146, we rise for our call to worship. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv alavim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, ubitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, umavir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uven layla, Adonai Tzvaot Shemo, El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Li'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim. 151 together at the top. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me, Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Please be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol amacha v'chol nafshecha u'bechol me'otecha ve'hayu hadarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavcha ayom levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'divartam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'shachbecha u'kkumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'lohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiyot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Turn to 157 and we read responsively in the middle of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Adonai, mi kamocha ne'etar b'kodesh, noratehi lo nosef eleh, noratehi lo nosef eleh.
Malchutecha v'uvanecha, Bokei Yam Lefnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Kamocha ba'elim Adonai, Kamocha ne'edah b'kodesh, Noratehi lo nosefele, Noratehi lo nosefele. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la la, ya la 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 la. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai ba'al Yisrael. Let there be peace, love, and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Continue on page 162. Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei Onei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei Onei Shabbat. Mikadeshei, Mikadeshei Shvi Shabbat. Kulam yisme'u v'yitanu b'torech HaShabbat. Yisme'u v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei Onei Shabbat. Yisme'u v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei Onei Shabbat. Uvashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat. Chenad yamim oto karata Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei Onei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei Onei Shabbat. Zecher lema'aseh b'reishit Shabbat. Zecher lema'aseh b'reishit Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei Onei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei Onei Shabbat. Thank you, Alex, for giving me the percussion.
Thank you, Rabbi.
We now turn to the tefillah, the central prayer of the service on page 164, and we rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach u'hufiyah ki tehilatecha. Adonai open up my lips
that my mouth may declare your praise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'Konei HaKol, Ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Chozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Elam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol atah, Rav leHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach u'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim beChesed, Mechayei HaKol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim berofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memid umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'emanat alachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated as we turn to page 173. We read together at the top. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, v'kadesh hashama. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'yamcha Yisrael, v'tfilatam b'ahava tekabel, v'tehi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha, el karov l'chol korah p'nei el avadecha v'chonenu, shefochru chacha aleinu v'techazena einenu b'shuvcha l'tzion v'rachamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Hamachazir Shechinato L'Tzion. 177. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, Atov Shimcha Ucha Na'el Hodot. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Tasim Le'olam. Ki atah hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atah hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Tasim Le'olam. Shalom וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים מעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים מעולם. תשים מעולם. תשים מעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל ואת כל העולם בשלום. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel and all the world with peace. We now take a few moments of silent personal prayer. We now turn our thoughts to those in need of healing. Turn to page 371. I'll read a prayer. I will say some names. And then as I look out into the congregation, if you have names to share, you may say those names out loud or pray for them in your heart. And then we will sing in the middle of the page. Mishberach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah v'Yivarech et HaCholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. Our thoughts turn to those in need of healing. Thomas DiMatteo, Mark Friedman, Elizabeth Friedman, Ira Coleman, Dorothy Jacobson, Shana Esther Bat Rochel, Chris Sura, Joel Shermaskin, Chaya Necha Bat Rivalea, Simon Brightman, Barbara Bayer, Beata Falkovich, Lawrence Post, Katriel Parachia, Ben Herschel Leza Shoshana, Davida Beer, Michael Wistreich, Sally Graff, Sam Webby, Sarah Bat Abraham Vasara, William Fawcett Jr., Ella Krushkov, Alan Skirker, Muriel Steinberg, Richard Couch, Judy Holmes, Chaim ben Saradina v'Yoshua. Are there any other names anyone would like to share?
David Markowitz.
Ate Noah.
May the Holy and Blessed One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored, their strength to be revived. May God send renewal of body and spirit. May God grant strength to them, to their loved ones, and their caretakers. And let us say,
Amen.
So for our visitors and guests, custom in a synagogue is each Shabbat, each Sabbath day, we read a portion of our Torah. The Torah is kept in the Ark. And we read a cycle so that we read the entire Torah throughout the year, and we come back again and we start. And on the last day, we read the last chapter and then the first chapter so that we never end that cycle of studying. In this week's Torah portion, which is called Bo, in the book of Exodus, we learn of the final 3 plagues that are brought down upon Pharaoh and the Egyptians. Locusts, which are now invading eastern Africa. Darkness, so intense that they could not see their own hands held out in front of them. And death of the firstborn. These have not occurred out of the blue, but after numerous requests by Moses and Aaron for Pharaoh to free the Israelites, God's patience has been tested, and Pharaoh continues to become more recalcitrant and refuses the requests. The Israelites are then directed to do certain rituals, beginning with acquiring a lamb, sacrificing it, and eating it, roasted, not boiled or fried, with matzah and bitter herbs. The Israelites were also told to take hyssop and dip it in the blood of the lamb to paint as a sign on the doorposts of their homes to demonstrate that these were the homes of the Hebrew slaves. They are then told to repeat this sacrificial service, this sacrificial meal of roasted lamb, matzah, and bitter herbs when they arrive in the promised land. And this became the basis to what later developed into the Passover Seder. I will guarantee, for those who've never been to a Seder, you won't only get lamb, matzah, and bitter herbs. Once the Israelites left Egypt, they came to the land of Israel, and there was no more using of blood for that ritual purpose. Now, I mention this because in the Middle Ages, there was often a false accusation used against Jews that they were using human blood, often thought to be the blood of Christian children, to make their matzah.
This blood libel did not completely die out and even occurred in the 20th century, as well as being used in anti-Semitic rhetoric only a few years ago. Now, to a Jewish mind, this is total nonsense. The only ingredients used in baking matzah is unleavened flour and water, and done in a short period of time, no more than 18 minutes from the time that flour and water touch each other, to ensure that there's no rising of the matzah. Also, due to the anti-Semitic attacks and pogroms against Jews, especially at that time of year when both Passover and Easter are observed, there is a ritual of opening our doors. At first, we say that ritual is to invite in anyone outside. All who are hungry, come and eat. Come and join us in our meal. But it was also to let the world outside see that nothing sinister was going on within our homes. Perhaps, to some pre-modern Christian minds, the blood accusation could be understood as not being outlandish. Why? First, they read in the Bible text where blood was used, but do not or did not learn the Jewish practical applications to biblical directives. Jews are explicitly told you are not to eat the blood, and we drain it from our meat. Try to get a rare steak at a kosher restaurant. The second reason has to do with the Christian tradition and the time of year when Passover occurs. There's often an overlapping of Passover and Easter. I know sometimes when I invite some of my friends for Passover Seder, they're celebrating Easter and can't join me. The Easter Passion story of Good Friday describes the crucifixion of Jesus. And instead of understanding that only the Romans were permitted to execute Jesus, Jews were blamed. And even today, there are some who still believe that this is the case. Now, most mainline churches have rejected that thinking and do not blame the Jewish people for an act that the Jewish leadership could not have been allowed to commit. Another contributing factor to this muddled thinking about Jews and Judaism has to do with a Christian understanding of the Eucharist. If the bread or the wafer, which what reminds us of matzah, right, is the body of Jesus, we ask, what's in a body? What's in flesh? Blood. The wafer is flat and usually unleavened like matzah, but this is where the misunderstanding plays itself out. A believing Christian, unlike a Jew, would not be totally shocked if told that blood was used in the making of the matzah, as blood and flesh are part of their sacred rite. Well, let's go on back to the biblical text for a moment. In the text, there is a description of the first Passover night ritual and the directive to do this every year. And one might expect, if children see this going on, they'd ask something, what's going on here? Our Haggadah, our ritual book that we use at the Passover Seder, has two sections regarding children's questions. One is known as the 4 questions, and the second one are the 4 children. In old prayer books, non-gender sensitive, they're 4 sons. So we read in Exodus 26 and 27, Vayaki yomru alechem b'nechem ma avodah hazot lachem. And when your children ask you, what do you mean by this rite? V'yamartem zevach pesach hu l'Adonai asher pasach al batei v'nei Yisrael b'Mitzrayim b'nagpo et Mitzrayim et batenu hitziel v'yikod ha'am v'yishtachu. You shall say, it is the Passover sacrifice to the Eternal, because God passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt when God smote the Egyptians, but saved our houses. The people then bowed low in homage. This question and answer are both part of a section in the Haggadah, the ritual liturgy of the Passover Seder. This part has 4 different children, as I mentioned, asking different questions, well, one of them not asking at all. The parent is then supposed to provide each child with the appropriate answer to their way of asking, or their level of knowledge, or their way of learning. One child is wise, one child is wicked, one child is simple, and one does not even know how to ask. However, this question that I just read from the text then quoted in the Haggadah is the one asked by the wicked child. What does this mean to you? He excludes himself from the community. But the answer here in the Bible is not the one given in the Haggadah. The answer given here was the one similar to the one given to the wise child who wants to know the details of the events. What does this mean? How do you do it? So one of the vital lessons of this section is the importance of understanding differences in people, both how they learn and what is their basic nature. The teacher should understand that not all students learn in the same manner. Individuals need to be recognized for their differences even when they all share the same basic human existence. I truly believe that the importance of learning and understanding differences in culture and religious ideas helps us to know our neighbors in a more accurate way and helps to lead to friendship and love. The rituals of the Passover Seder, as they are reflected in the Christian tradition of the Eucharist, have similarities, but also differences. Each is a part of the sacred tradition in its own right. We build a stronger community by listening to each other, answering according to the questions being asked, and not making judgments, especially and most importantly, when we do not have all the facts. And we wish some of those facts would get out there. In our teaching in the Mishnah, a sacred text that is part of our Talmud, in a section known as Pirkei Avot, the sayings of the sages or the fathers, again, gender not neutral, we learn in the very first verse that one must be deliberate in making judgments. Hevu mitunim badin. And then later, we are encouraged that when we do make judgments, because we do, v'hevei dan et kol ha'adam l'chaf zechut, judge all people with the scale weighted in their favor. It is upon us to learn and understand rather than making unfair judgments. We are obligated to see the differences that exist, to try and relate in an appropriate manner with each other and with all people. Amen.
Amen.
We will now move on to our concluding prayers in the service. We turn to page 586. Now, the way we do this prayer, we start on 586 on the second paragraph. We flip to 588, and then we flip again after that paragraph to 591. Please rise for the Aleinu.
ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומי הוא אלוהינו ואין אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו כך כתוב בתורתו וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אדון ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא Bayom Hahu Yeh Adonai Echad Ushemo Echad. We now think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. The Shabbat, we remember the yard sites, the anniversaries of the deaths of Reuven Adar, Bella Alpert, Francis Behrman, Shirley Berger, Max Burns, Vivian Boelio, Eleanor Campbell, Barbara Dolan, Rhea Drexler, Jerome Fain, Sarah Feinstein, Charles Flowers, Jacob Friedlander, Evelyn Frischman, Jack Frischman, William Heller, Adam Hendelson, Phyllis Ginsberg, Gladys Greenberg, Harold Green, Wallace Griffith, Sadie Kaiser, Selma Ann Kay, Nancy Crafe, Hilda R. Lazier, Annalie Leshner, Sarah Lewis, Ida Mushinsky, Willis Pierce, Louis J. Pies, Janice Richmond, Alice Levine Rosen, Leon Rosenfeld, Berkeley Roth, Rose Rubel, Vincent Sangenario, Louis Schildkraut, Esther Schwartz, Ann Schulman, Miri Skirker, Marshall Spiller, Pearl Steinman, Adela Weissman, Carola Wachtel, Avis Waddell, Wendy Wood. Are there any other names of recent deaths or anniversaries of deaths that anyone would like to share?
Jennifer Gravitz,
Jean London.
Zichronam Livracha, may their memories all be for blessing. Our mourner's Kaddish is found on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei lechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach li'olam u'l'olmei olmaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudesha barichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush v'chata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yal kol yoshvei tevel, v'yimru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to all humanity, and let us say together, Amen. Please be seated. Shabbat Shalom. It is our custom here to turn to somebody that you don't know, to introduce yourself and wish them a Shabbat Shalom, which is the greeting of Sabbath peace. So try to find somebody near you don't know and say hello. I'd like to thank Marilyn Fenster, who is our greeter today from the Board of Trustees. And if you have any questions on the way out, please see Marilyn. Now, we're going in two directions on the way out. Those people who are from the Levine Center, you're going to go down the hall to the right, and there is a dinner set up for you. And for the rest of the congregation and visitors, just go straight back into the social hall for the Oneg. And we will say a blessing over the food before we begin, so we'll do that. Tomorrow morning, we have a 9:15 Torah study and Sabbath service at 10:30. We also have our Winterfest. I hope you've signed up at the Olmsted Lodge at Highland Park. It says 3 p.m. Sunday the 2nd, we do have adult ed, religious school. We have adult Hebrew. No, we don't have adult Hebrew this Sunday. Purim choir practice, and the men's club Super Bowl party at 5:30. Wednesday, the RAIN committee meeting is at 7. Thursday the 6th, Accessibility and Inclusion Committee is meeting at 6:30. Religious Practices is meeting at 7. Next Friday, Erev Shabbat service with birthday blessings featuring the 6th grade in Sasson. Jewish Disabilities Awareness and Inclusion Month. The topic, Our Future is Accessible. And it's followed by a dinner for all, an Academy Award-themed Shabbat dinner with friends, and a movie and popcorn. Saturday the 8th, Torah study, 9:15, service at 10:30. The 9th, Coffee for a Cause, adult ed. That day, student Rabbi Jan Katz will be teaching about Martin Buber. A religious school, Hebrew adult education, Purim choir practice, adult Hebrew, Sinai radio, women's Chavarash, celebrity chefs in the afternoon. So you'll be back, right? Yeah, Farzan will be here as part of our celebrity chefs. You know you were a celebrity chef? Wonderful. Anyway, just wanted to mention that Rabbi Till and I will be away next week, and we are taking 8 teenagers down to Washington, D.C., to the Religious Action Center. We're going to meet with hundreds of teenagers from different congregations. We're going to learn about many issues, and then on Monday morning, we're going to lobby on Capitol Hill. Maybe a little too late, but what are you going to do? I'm not saying anything. Thursday the 13th, a membership committee at 6, executive committee at 6:30, and board trustees at 7:30. Friday the 14th, we have young family service at 6, followed by a dinner. Shmooze and Shabbat at 6:45, and Erev Shabbat service at 8. Saturday the 15th services, and Torah study, that's Shabbat Berit Fastaya, the daughter of Joe, and Mia Fastaya will become Bat Mitzvah. And the Religious Practice Committee want everyone to know that we need your feedback to help plan for the high holidays of 2020. If you have not attended a listening session, we kindly request and encourage you to please complete the survey. A link to it can be found in this week's snippets. It's very brief and should take no more than a few minutes. The Religious Practice Committee will close this survey February 4th. And for the Jewish members of the congregation, it's now time to vote in the Zionist elections. And by voting in this election, you have a chance to shape what goes on in Israel to some degree. Not everything, unfortunately. We'd like to have more influence, but it is a voice to bring in more plurality and more diversity, and to follow some of the values, and that comes with dollars. Because when this World Zionist Organization meets, when the World Zionist Congress meets, they divide up a lot of money amongst different organizations, and it's how we started getting some of the reform and conservative rabbis paid in Israel, and they fight for issues like Women of the Wall, so it pays for the Religious Action Center in Israel, so it's very important. So here at this congregation, we're asking you to go to arza.org. If you haven't done it, please do. It's real easy. It takes 5 minutes. Costs a big $7 to register and vote, and we encourage you to vote for the Arts line number 2. There are other lines. Some of them might be very nice, but we're encouraging you for Arts, and we have it in the snippets and in the website. Are there any other announcements anyone has? So we're going to say our motzi, which is a blessing over the challah with the bread before we eat. However, those going to the dinner, we're not going to eat right away. We're going to have to share some stuff with you there. So you'll have to say the blessing again. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lecha min haaretz. What is our closing song, Alex?
It's Adon Olam.
Page 625, Adon Olam. And once again, I want to thank Alex for substituting for Cantor Braun, who had to leave town. Thank you for being here.
Adon Olam, Asher Halam, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Hira, V'yenasam, V'chefso Kol, Azai Melech, Shemo Yikra. Yaharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Norah Behu Hayam
sabe hefso kol azay melech shemoni kra yacharei kiklota kol levador no rave hayabe uove kukuni yevet tifara adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzinim rali et sabe hefso kol azay melech shemoni kra yacharei kiklota kol levador no rave hayabe uove Tifara ve'uhaya ve'uhove Tifara ve'uhaya ve'uhove Tifara. Please rise for our closing benediction. So there's many people around the country, around the world, who are studying what's called Daf Yomi, a page of Talmud every day. And one of the benefits I've gotten is I learned new things, and I've learned a new benediction that I did not know before. It comes from one of the sections that I read this past week and a half ago. Misha shikein et shemo b'bayit hazeh, hu yishkin b'nechem ahava v'achva shalom v'reut. May the one who causes God's name to dwell in this house cause love and brotherhood and sisterhood, peace and camaraderie to dwell among us. Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
When he was there for 4 years, so we would visit him every year. What's So like 12 hours? 11 hours?
Yeah, we drove a couple of times, but we flew to.
It's about 9.5 to Richmond.
Yeah, we flew. So now we're flying. We have tickets to Paris and then
Now it's a direct flight to Charlotte.
Yeah.
Oh,
That makes
nice.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now and then it's a short drive.
There's no direct
No,
flights in
neither
Richmond.
Richmond. There's no direct
But they
flight.
like it.
We live in a house that's 8 acres. The backyard is 8 acres. Amber's husband hunts on the acres.
Yeah.
Hunts deer. He loves it.
Yes, he loves it.
He loves it.
So I don't think we'll get Amber back here.
No, I don't think that's ever gonna
Well,
happen.
Alfred, every time they visit here, he says it's inhumane to live in this climate. It's inhumane.
Yeah, but he grew up in it.
Yeah, but he forgot. It was a long time ago.
Oh, no. So he won't ever come
In
back?
Norfolk for 4 years. See, he was
They
in
even
DC
came
for
here
1 year,
for
and then in
interviewing
Norfolk
for
for 4 years,
residency.
and there's no coming back.
Both of
No,
them.
same with Amber.
But they came here. It was
There's no winters like the
midwinter,
winters
like in
here.
January.
You know, they don't have days where it's
You did it wrong.
Wow, that's where when the interviews were going.
When we were talking about moving back to Rochester, because I was born here, but raised in Los Angeles. And then we got married in Los Angeles. And we were talking about moving to Rochester. I brought him in June. It was so pretty. He liked it.
not knowing what we're doing.
Why does she pick me?
No, we liked a lot what we saw. LA was not affordable. Traffic was terrible. The smog was terrible. The schools were terrible. I mean, it just didn't make sense to raise our children there. So this was
But I
much
brought
better.
him in June, and he really liked it.
It was a smart move. Okay, well, nice, very nice seeing you.
Where's
Say
your,
hi.
wait, where's your daughter?
So she's right now she's here. She's doing a master's program at the ULR. Yeah, she's doing marriage and family therapy.
Very good.
She
Good for you
graduated.
guys.
They both graduated in May on the same day. On the same exact day.
What, one went to one went to the other?
No, but because you know we were in Virginia. First of all, his wedding was 1 week before the graduation.
Oh, so you had to be nice to the
And
wedding.
then we also went. I don't know if you're familiar with for medical students, they have this. It's called match day when they find out where they go for residency. It's like a wedding day. So we went there for in March for match day, and then we were there for the wedding. So for graduation, we saw him. We saw them on streaming.
Oh,
They were
Oh,
streaming,
that's nice.
and we went for Julia's.
oh, very good.
Julia went to Geneseo.
Oh, did she?
So did Elise.
Yeah, Lisa really liked it,
Very
yeah.
nice. And she lives in Victor. Elise has the two boys. She has 2 boys, and Amber has 2 girls in Virginia.
So good, you have everything you can wish for.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're lucky.
yeah.
We're lucky. We're
Very lucky,
fortunate.
very lucky.
Kids are all.
Does Julie want to stay in Rochester?
No.
Yeah.
And we keep telling her, just figure out between the 2 of you, just live on the same, we don't care where, but just find a place and live in the same place so that we can come drink.
So we buy on one house, not 2 houses.
So that's what
Yeah, so
we
you
keep
don't-
telling her, but you know, she definitely does.
Yeah.
You've done stuff with brain.
Yeah, I actually put volunteer for this. We're in a volunteer group up in Belleville, where we got kind of the brain. And so Jeff and I have been kind of organizing little Bella teams do their bowl-a-thon fundraiser. And so I know he's been active with brain the past year. So I'm kind of volunteering for that.
Well, there's all kinds of levels around doing brain.
Yeah.
Do one.
Oh, wow.
There's one that can do it. I always like to just give them a washing machine.
That would be, yeah.
Hey, Rebecca, greetings.
Probably on the airwaves now.
This is your year. This is my year. This is your year to sing the Lord for us, decided to do nothing else to do. Because we're doing blocks, sacred service in April. Okay?
It's very nice to meet you. We're going to go to dinner, so.
Great.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
joined and they did that a year ago.
I don't know. You know,
It's like, I'm laughing because he's a nurse practitioner working in VA, so the last year I was super busy. He's such a character.
really?
Yes, I
I'll
love
look on the things. I have a direct summer. Years ago, we've had people that have been singing.
I noticed my voice is starting to crack.
Mine did too this week. I think it was because I didn't sing in the fall round.
But I did. I mean, at least, you know, I've been singing.
Listen, Bob, she can't do that.
I know that, but I don't know why. Besides that.
Or dryness, or dryness, or
Too much talking at work.
we have a lot of good results for our moving of our
Oh, good.
the word to call our listening session. This is like, you know how they call the other group of young people, the other people, like the EA group. It's just like a word to put on the top of the board.
What's the other thing? Go away.
Bow.
There we go. Perfect.
Bow.
Yeah.
So I made a whole list of words that you can incorporate into something there, or just, but it's not, it's, I said, since they're listening sessions, I just think you might want to say Shema Kolayim, or Shema Kulanu, listen to all of us. Instead of listen to our voice, it's just a play on words.
I like that.
Shema Kulanu.
I like that.
Yeah. But as I look things up, I find out they have alternative meanings.
I'm sure, yeah.
Meanings in Israel, because there was one that I looked up that was like a group for people who've been abused by clergy.
That's
Maybe we don't want to do
Shema
that.
Koleno?
No, it was another, it was a different, I mean, I gave her a whole list of stuff.
Oh, okay.
And the word lishma, which just means to hear,
Okay.
or to listen.
Oh.
Is
Shema.
Yeah,
Okay.
but but instead of using the shema with the ayin at the end, it uses the root shame, so it's not to listen, it's to his name or something like that, and it has another meaning, so I don't want to confuse people.
Yeah, probably
You
was.
know. So I sent her a list of maybe 10 things with the alternative meanings in modern Hebrew.
You could just talk in English and say it's the listening session.
Or we could just use kulanu,
Yeah.
or derech kulanu, which is the way of all of us. I
thought the Derek was the traveler's prayer. So Derek, what is it?
Tfilat HaDerech is the prayer of the road.
Okay.
Derech is, if you go to Israel, every street is named Derech something. Like you have Derech King George for King George Street. That's the word
Okay.
street,
Yeah.
but it means on the way. I don't know.
I have a couple of Debbie Free